Another brand new day here on Locked On Blue Devils, and we've still got some basketball thoughts here over the course of the summer. I think this Duke basketball team is going to be really good this season. Conor ONeal from Devils Illustrated joins us on today's show.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. Today is Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. Locked On Blue Devils, your one-stop shop for everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. As we mentioned on yesterday's show, we're back in action 5 days a week here with this program. A new video at the beginning of each and every show for you to watch. Please check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video. Share it with your friends. Your support means so much to us. If you're listening on the podcast platform, thank you for doing that as well. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Make sure that you like these podcasts. Share them with your friends as well. And then follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils. And I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. Conor ONeal from Devils Illustrated is here with us on today's show. We're going to talk basketball. We'll have some football thoughts at the end of the conversation. But Conor, here we are. July is halfway done. And it looks like we're getting closer to the start of another academic and athletics year in college sports.
Yeah, you'll have to forgive me. I'm trying to still process not hearing Dickie V play us in. I can kind of still hear it rattling around in my head.
Yeah.
ACC Media Days are next week in Charlotte. I always think that is the unofficial end of summer, even though calendar enthusiasts will tell you that it's only been summer for a month at that point. For those interested, like I'm not even going to say covering, for those interested in college sports, Media Days always feels like that's it. You're in football mode, and that's where we are on the calendar right now.
Yeah, you look at the SEC, they are in the heart of Media Days right now. The Big 12 has already had their Media Day function. We saw Commissioner Sankey of the SEC kind of already ask questions yesterday about Florida State and Clemson, the ever-changing landscape in college athletics. I would imagine that's going to be a big topic next week when we get to Charlotte. We can hold on to that for a little bit because I want to start today with basketball. And this Duke basketball team, the run that they've been on this summer, getting players in the gym. We've seen some scrimmage footage put out there. And then we've seen Cooper Flagg take off for his work with Team USA. Conor ONeal has had some Olympic responsibilities so far as well. Just what have your thoughts been as of late with this Duke basketball team?
So obviously the big topic is Cooper Flagg. He just blew up when he went out to, the scrimmage highlights that Duke was putting out. It was almost like, okay, there's Cooper Flagg. He's what we thought he was going to be, I think. It's kind of one of those weird things where I think Duke fans and I think everybody that pays attention to the NBA draft, like in the future, like everybody that gets themselves lathered up for scouting prospects, that small niche of NBA fans, they know about Cooper Flagg, but it's almost like people weren't sure if he was going to live up to the hype or what type of player he was until you're seeing clips of him like dunking on Bam Adebayo, hitting a pull-up three over Anthony Davis on a pick and roll switch, just doing all this incredible stuff, and he's still only 17 years old. And so it's kind of funny to me where we're looking at it and it's like, yeah, that's kind of who he's been. Like if you watched a Mount Verde game over the last couple years, if you saw him on the AAU circuit, if you've paid attention, he is that innate and instinctual player. Now it's all out there for everybody to see. Like right now he's got the hype train is fully left the station. I've seen people ask, he's going to be the most hyped college basketball player since when? And I joke about, well, we all got to go all the way back to 12 months ago when LeBron James' kid was going to be in college. But I also remind people, like, correct me if I'm wrong, because I wasn't on the Duke beat at the time, but the Zion hype train didn't really get started until they went to Canada, right?
Right.
Like, and he wasn't even the number one player in his class.
Right.
He wasn't even the number one recruit coming to Duke that year. So it's we're, like I said, we're fully left the station with this thing. It's been a long time coming in a couple ways. Like it was a long courtship. You go back to those initial quotes from Cooper when he was just starting to blow up as a national recruit, and he said Duke was his dream school, and he was a lifelong Duke fan. Now we're gonna see it for a full season.
Really excited to see it for a full season, especially after the clips that we've seen as of late. Because it's one thing, to your point, to see him play against the Duke basketball team inside the practice facility. It's entirely different when you've got Anthony Davis out guarding you on the perimeter and you make the decision to shoot a three right in front of him and it goes down, or to have some of the putbacks that he had in those competitions. A mailbag question that we were asked yesterday, Connor, was, did your expectations at all change for Cooper Flagg given the recent weeks that he's had, which I thought was a unique perspective, because also his father was out at the events in Las Vegas, and Cooper's dad, Ralph, had some quotes talking about, well, if he's doing this against the NBA, I guess it'll be a little easier for him in college. So it appears that the family is well aware of kind of the shift. So is it fair to change those expectations maybe?
I think the one expectation that I already want to change is I had the hot take thing that we did on Big J, Little J show, where I said that he wasn't going to average over 15 points a game this year. And I just said that because it's harder to average 15 plus in college than people realize. It's
Absolutely.
a 40-minute game. Shot clocks are longer. There's a lot of factors that go into that. Also, I'm that much of a believer in his all-around game as a passer and as a facilitator, and I think Duke will play him some at point forward, that I don't think he'll always be looking to put up 25 to 30 points. Like, I think you'll see some stat lines from him of like 13 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 blocks, 2 steals. That type of line is, I think, going to be a normal night for him. But man, his shot looks smooth, and I want to walk it back, because I think he is gonna get in between that, 17 to 20 point a game range. I don't think he'll lead the country or anything like that. That's usually reserved for some mid-major player who's taken like 35% of his team shots. And we know that the talent on this Duke team, even though he's the most talented, we know that the talent dispersal means that nobody should be taking 35% of a team's shots on any given night. So yeah, in one regard, I am changing some expectations for him. God, I can't even remember. Was the question about him or just
No?
Duke?
Yeah, absolutely. The question's for him. So
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where I landed as well. Like, how can you not walk away, especially if your family's in your circle, saying, you know what, we could state the obvious. This is Team USA. This is the best of the best. He had a good week here with them. I think he'll be in a good spot going into the college season. Terrific. All right, we'll take our first break here on today's show. We'll continue the Duke conversation of things when we come back after this on Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today, brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. It's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, welcome back into Locked On Blue Devils. Conor ONeal from Devils Illustrated is here with us. Check out his work, duke.rivals.com. We just talked about Cooper Flagg and maybe the changing of expectations for him. Let's go to the second part of that, Conor, that you started to bring up there. Do the expectations change for Duke, given the recent things that we've seen out on a basketball court?
I guess it depends on where your expectations were to start with.
Sure.
I think it's unfair to say any team goes into a season thinking Final Four or bust, because there's so much variability in what happens in a college basketball season and what happens in a single elimination tournament. But every expectation short of Final Four or bust, like, that's on this team. They're good enough to win a national championship. With what they brought in the transfer portal and the makeup of some of their freshmen, we think they're going to be tougher and more mature than they were the last couple of years. It should be a little more of a skew toward a defensive-based team than last year's was. You know, I think of John's first two teams as that first year, they were really good defensively, and they just kind of tried to piece it together offensively. Last year was a little bit vice versa. Like, last year was a elite offensive team. Try to do some things defensively without a true rim protector in the middle. I think this year should be kind of the best of both of those worlds, right? Like, I think as long as Kamen Malawak continues to develop, he'll be that rim protector. I think as long as Tyrese Proctor continues his upward trajectory, you get sophomore year Caleb Foster healthy. You have the freshman wings. We can talk about what Con Newpel looked like in a couple highlight clips from the Jason Tatum Elite Camp. Then Seon James. I mean, I've already said I don't know how that guy spent 4 years at Tulane. He looks like every bit the part of a power conference basketball player. So, yeah, I think if you went into, 2 months ago, you were thinking that Duke was just going to be Sweet 16 good, your expectations should have changed. I don't know that they should have been there in the first place, but for those who went in thinking that this team was going to be one of the elite teams in college basketball, yeah, your expectations didn't change. You just kind of strengthened them.
Yeah, when you've got the best player in the country, a lot can certainly happen on the good side of things for your team. And I think we'll see that this season. With Duke, it's not a guarantee. We know how difficult it is to win in this sport. But, I guess the answer to that question depends, to your point, where your expectations started off in the first place. Now, at least, though, things should have shifted to where everybody is in the same boat, right? That this team is absolutely capable of making a Final Four run, of winning a national championship, and bringing a sixth title back to Durham. Really excited to see this team get together.
Yeah, we just, we'll get into the season. We'll get into the preseason. Some people will make their jokes about we still haven't had the Duke injury yet to a key freshman.
Yeah.
And I get it, because in my short experience with covering them, that's happened every year, I think.
Well, and some would argue Darren Harris already had surgery, right? So already starting summer play, although we think he's probably going to be towards the back end of this bench for the Duke basketball team. So, yeah, let's hope there's no more serious injuries with this team. But no, that's right. It's been a bad luck as of late in that regard.
Yeah. So I can't help but look at the roster and think that it's a team with no holes. Maybe we figure out what their holes are. They're certainly going to be tested early. What's the order go? I think it's Kentucky and Atlanta and Kansas and Las Vegas, and the ACC SEC matchup is I'm blanking.
Auburn. They got? Yep,
Auburn. We're going to know a lot about this team before they play an ACC game or before they really carve into the ACC schedule. And it's going to be exciting to figure out, okay, are they really a team with no holes? Are they really the team that we, in November and December, we're going to be saying, are they the team that we thought they were in June and July?
I'll rehash another question we had on yesterday's mailbag because we started to mention it with some of the roster talking about this Duke basketball team. I thought it was a really good one. A lot of people are seeing Seon James play basketball for the first time. They're seeing the clips of him at the Jason Tatum camp. They're seeing clips of him in the scrimmage videos with Duke basketball amongst his Duke teammates. A question was posed, is there a world where Seon James becomes more important to Duke's success this season than either Caleb Foster or Tyrese Proctor? Which initially I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't think so, because these are two guys that have played for Duke previously. But then you watch him play, man. The kid's tough and just an absolute force to be reckoned with when he puts his head down and drives. Maybe there is a world where he becomes a little bit more important to Duke's success.
I think he could become more important than one of the two. I don't think he becomes a more important player than both of them.
Sure.
Because to me, you have to have one of them as your primary
ball handler,
initiator. Yeah, you've got to have one of those two guys on the court at the same time, unless you're just going to throw Cooper Flagg in there at the point guard, which I don't see. I can see John doing in spots as needed. I can't see John doing it for 4 to 5 minutes at a time. But yeah, I'm blown away the way you're blown away, the way I think a lot of people are blown away at just how physical he looks.
Yeah.
And we should have known it. Like Jordan showed me the clips of him from Tulane, and he had me walking back some takes I had when he first committed, and I get it, but it's one thing to see the clips of him playing with Tulane and playing against Tulsa and East Carolina. It's another thing to see him doing it against other ACC, other Duke players, other ACC players, and then see him doing into the clips of the Jason Tatum elite camp. That's what kind of takes it to another level. That's what makes it look like. That's what puts the Jay Billis voice in my head of we're going to hear 20 times this year that he looks like an NFL linebacker using the Trevor Keels blueprint, if you will. But yeah, if he can provide a little bit of outside shooting, if he plays defense the way that we think he's going to be able to play defense, he's everything that John has seemed to want in an off-ball guard / wing position player. And then he's going to be out there for long chunks of games if that's the case.
Yeah, we're going to get to see it come all together for this Duke basketball team this fall. All right, we've got to take one more break here on today's show. When we come back, we'll shift gears a little bit. Want to talk a little bit about this Duke football team and what's coming up when Conor ONeal joins us after this timeout. Really do appreciate you making Locked On Blue Devils your first listen of today. For your second listen, make sure that you check out Locked On Sports Today. It's our national show here within the network where we discuss all of the biggest headlines and news in the world of sports. We saw an exciting home run derby last night, the All-Star game coming up a little bit later tonight. Olympic coverage is right around the corner. And of course, we're just a few weeks away from NFL training camps getting started. All that and more on Locked On Sports Today. We've also launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today, here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Once again, go check out Locked On Sports Today. We'll bring him back in. Conor ONeal is here from Devils Illustrated, Duke.Rivals.com. What's going on over at the website these days? A new season coming up, a new look when you are actually visually viewing, right? We've got a new intro here on the program. You've got a new look to your website. What else you got over there, Conor?
Yeah, for somebody who most of the time doesn't like change. I think this is all good change. At least that's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
Duke.rivals.com, Devils Illustrated. Come check it out. We've got premium content going up these days, is mostly football related because we're getting into the time of year where it's football preview time. We'll have some basketball scoop. Peach Jam is underway. And that'll be on the message boards primarily. I hope to still get down to Peach Jam at some point. But it just didn't come together this year with the schedule and the timing and the cost. So please come check out duke.rivals.com. Sign up for a membership. It's, I think, $8.33 a month. That's $8.33, not $833 a month. Some people seem to act like it costs an arm and a leg, and it's really cheap for quality content. So I hope you come check it out.
Yeah, very, very good content. So yes, please go check it out. Indeed. That's Conor ONeal from Devils Illustrated. You mentioned the football content that you've got going on, including right now the 5 most important football games in 2024. We'll be talking a whole lot of football next week as we've got ACC kickoff there in Charlotte. As you look at this Duke football team and you sort of piece together the schedule that they have, where did you land? I don't want you to give us everything because I do want people to go check out the work, but how do you start something like this? What are you looking at when you think about what are these 5 most important games?
Well, I'll give the spoiler alert. Number 1 is the Carolina game. And for a couple reasons, not just the rivalry factor, not just the victory bell, and the victory bell that's been controlled by Carolina since I had to double take this, looking it up to make sure. But the last time Duke beat Carolina, Daniel Jones was the starting quarterback. That's a guy who's already on his 2nd NFL contract. It was just 6 years ago, but it feels so much longer, probably because of COVID and because Duke is on their 3rd coach since that game. So that Carolina game coming in the last weekend of September, it's the ACC opener. So I look at a couple of different things with that. Like I look at, all right, where do we fall on the schedule? It's not just who's the opponent, what's expected of them this year. It's kind of like, all right, we figured Duke will beat my alma mater, Elon, in the opener. They're an FCS school. The trip to Northwestern is a little bit of a tricky game. I believe it's a Friday night. That's September 6th date. That's tricky. Like it's just tricky to play a road game, late kickoff, I believe it'll be, against a power conference team, even though it's in a stadium that holds like 20,000 people and it's a makeshift like 2-year deal or whatever, tentative arrangement. Then the UConn game and at Middle Tennessee, Duke should win both of those games. So I figure they'll be going into the Carolina game either 3-1 or 4-0 and feeling good. And then we'll get the actual measuring stick. We'll get Manny Diaz's first kind of signature game. Like that's his first chance to really make an imprint and show you what he wants Duke football to look like in big time games. So that's a huge date, and it kicks off, like I said, it kicks off ACC play.
Yeah, that'd be huge if you're able in your first season to knock off North Carolina, to your point, when you haven't beat them in quite some time, and returning the victory bell to Durham. Like that's big. That wins favor amongst a lot of Duke fans out there.
Yeah, and Mike Elko did a lot of good things at Duke the last 2 years. He was 0-2 against Carolina with probably two of the 3 most painful losses in the last 2 years, I would say.
Yep.
I don't know if either, like, there's the rivalry aspect of things. The only other game that I would say was more painful or as painful as those 2 was the Notre Dame game, where
that's where I was going to go.
You're a 4th and 16 stop away from beating Notre Dame and starting 5-0 and winning when you had College game day on campus that day. But yeah, I mean, you go back to the nullified touchdowns that would have put away the Carolina game 2 years ago. And Carolina goes down and scores a touchdown with 16 seconds left to win the game. You go back to last year, and I mean, you know how much I do not like to talk about officials and their calls. Like I think like losers do 2 things. They complain about refs and they live in hypotheticals. And I do both when I think about last year's game against Carolina, because like you have the illegal man downfield that gets called back on a Carolina. I think it was a touchdown, or it was either a touchdown or a 2-point conversion. You had the interception down by the goal line that was ruled something else. I can't even remember. That play was wild. It was actually a fumble recovery for Duke.
Yeah.
Just all kinds of stuff happened in those two games that made them so much more painful than it was just on the surface level of losing a close game to your rival. So that Carolina game, that's the one that I'm kind of looking at, like, and the team is supposed to not look ahead and everything is supposed to be about Elon on August 30th, but I'm not on the team. You're not on the team. We can talk about the 5th game of the year before they play one.
Amen. Yeah, nope, definitely excited to see this team come together, see what they're able to do, see them at ACC kickoff next week, as you mentioned, kind of the unofficial start to this football season for the Duke Blue Devils. So, Conor, always great to see you. The time is greatly appreciated. Thank you again for stopping by today. We'll see you soon, okay?
My pleasure. Thanks, JJ.
All right, that's Conor ONeal from Devils Illustrated joining us here on the show today. Go check out all of his work. Once again, duke.rivals.com. That'll do it for our show here today. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.